Okay, extraction. Extraction involves pretty much trashing the planet in a nutshell. Okay, that's what Annie Leonard was referring in her, or at least saying in her video, the story of stuff. Give me one effect, negative effect on the well-being of individuals during the extraction process.
Like a lot of extraction comes from third world countries, and then the people who are there are forcing cheap labor, and it affects their lives.
Okay, so just to paraphrase what you're saying, a lot of extraction happens in third world countries where people are affected, right? And sometimes these people they might be forced into cheap labor as a result. Okay, so that can be effect on the individual.
In third world countries, when they open up those plants, people also lose their land.
Okay, one moment. So people are losing their land, right? Especially if somebody comes in and starts to sort of put a factory, wants to mine in a particular area, so they're affecting the land, which again has the effect on the environment too. Society, negative effect on the society.
When they extract resources, they force countries into poverty.
So there's potential of okay, how so? I'm just curious, how do they force a country into poverty?
By extracting their resources, they're forcing their economies to crumble.
Okay, I'm going to kind of counter that by saying that, do they provide jobs perhaps in these countries when they open up? When they go ahead and they say, okay, I'm going to drill for oil, I'm going to put my company here, and could I maybe provide employment as well? Just sort of...
Do I answer?
Well, anybody. It doesn't have to be...
Yes, but the jobs are really hard and difficult to do, and they have very low pay, and the people will take that because they're so desperate.
Okay. So it could be, maybe the wages aren't fair. What did Annie Leonard say specifically in the video about 200,000 people a day? What happens to them as a result of people going in, or the United States in this case, according to video? What happens to the people in these regions? Yeah, go ahead.
That they have to move from where they normally live.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of what happens is that there's a lot of movement of people. People are forced to leave their land. Entire villages might be forced to move out of a particular area where they have been living for years as a result of companies, large corporations like the mining corporations, oil drilling corporations, who come in and extract resources from third world countries. And of course, the effects on the environment, what would those be? Yes?
Resources are being used faster than they can be replaced.
Absolutely. Resources are being used faster than they can be replaced. And that's a problem, right, in this particular linear system. Okay, let's move down to production. So what happens during the production stage?
People in third world countries are having to work in toxic environments because they don't have any other options.
Yeah. Who are the most vulnerable in our society that are exposed to some of these toxic chemicals during the stage of production, possibly?
Pregnant women and newborn children.
Yes, pregnant women and newborn children. So of course, that's a huge negative effect on individuals and on society as a whole. What about, well, speaking of society, is there anything else you'd like to add as what could possibly be the negative effect during production stage on the well-being of entire society? Rina?
30% of kids in the Congo are dropping out of school to mine.
Wow, yeah. That's that could kind of go under extraction too, right? Because that's and production stage as well. Yeah, 30%, that's a really good stat. That's a really good statistic. That 30% of kids, children, high school kids as well, right, who should be going to school are not going to school because, well, they're trying to go and mine because there's that industry. And often, I mean, these jobs are very difficult, right? Okay, what about the effects on the environment from the production? Anything that... Oh, there's something here that I have jotted. VJ.
It's like creating pollution, so it's like very environmental all over.
Exactly. So it's the pollution piece, right? That's really the big effect of the environment. Because the idea is, in states, okay, we're not gonna build these factories because they pollute, so hey, Andy Leonard is saying in that video, let's just take the industry over somewhere else and let it pollute somebody else's air. But of course, we live in one planet. There's no actual border between countries. Borders are man-made. There's nothing that separates United States from Canada. There's no real, it's not like their biosphere is their biosphere and our biosphere is our biosphere. It affects the entire world. We live in one world. And I think it says here that in the US, 4 billion pounds of waste are generated per year. Right? That's something I noted here. It says 4 billion pounds per year of waste are generated in the US during the production stage. Okay, let's get to distribution. So, distribution, this is selling. This is the part where you want to keep people buying the stuff. You want to keep people buying the shampoos, the conditioners, the body sprays, lotions, cell phones, whatever else is produced, because we live in that consumer-driven economy. So what is the negative effect on the individuals during the distribution stage?
Oh, okay.
You want to go ahead?
I guess it can be for individuals and society. It allows overconsumption and it creates greediness.
Yeah, so it can create greediness?
Yeah.
How so? Maybe if you can elaborate on that part.
Because when we have more resources that we can take, we just want it all. Like, it's just available for us, and we have the money and the job, so
Yeah. Anybody else would like to add to that part? So either individual or society during the distribution stage. Well, there's a concept, I want to see if you can remember this. There was a concept that Annie Leonard talked about. Okay? When she went to the Radio Shack and she wanted to buy the radio, that was $4.99. What did she say about that particular, the price of that radio? And what was it that made her kind of go,
She said that the price doesn't justify the quality and time spent to make it.
The price doesn't justify the quality and time spent to make it. Who paid for that radio? What did she say? Who paid for that? She goes, I didn't pay for this. Somebody else paid for this. Nabil, you kind of are... What did I say?
Because it goes to so many other places before it actually gets built.
Exactly. It goes to so many other places before it gets built. What do we call that concept? It starts with E. It's two-letter word. It starts with E, and the other word starts with C. Say it again. Externalized cost. She mentions this concept of externalizing the cost. So, for example, with a radio, something to us that appears to be a simple radio, when we break it down, when we look at it, much like a Trojan horse, if you will, right? What are all the different components in a radio, and where do they come from? And this is directly from the Story of Stuff video. So let's see if you can recall a little bit of that.
The metal was made in South Africa.
The metal was mined in South Africa. Excellent. Bushra.
The plastic was made in China.
The plastic was made in China. Where was the crude oil dug?
Iraq.
Iraq. And then the plastic was made in China.
Assembled in Mexico.
And everything was assembled in Mexico. And then it was shipped over to us. So we can... But all the people all along the way paid for this, if you think about it. Right? The workers in South Africa paid with their sweat, pretty much, to get this out. And whoever worked in the production of plastics in China, I mean, there's a lot of toxics that go in when plastic is manufactured. So if women of reproductive age were working in this, they were being exposed to all these different toxins. And of course, if all this was assembled in Mexico, and it was assembled by some 15-year-olds, as Annie Leonard suggests, then of course there are certain labor laws that could have potentially been violated to get something to us to consume. And this happens. What about the effects on the environment of distribution? Mitch?
In order to transport and distribute all of these products, you have to have something to do that for you. So that could be like cars or boats or planes.
Yeah, these things get to us by cars, by boats, by planes, and of course they emit carbon dioxide into the environment. which is, of course, adding to the effect of global warming and climate change. So, and in addition to that, of course, there's also the added pollution as a result of these. It's not just the CO2 that's a problem in the transportation, it's also the other gases that are emitted from the transportation. We get into the consumption stage now, which is basically the golden arrow, she calls it. What is this thing about this golden arrow of consumption? Go ahead.
It's the engine for the everlasting loop of the whole system where it's just consume, use, dispose.
Yes, that's the engine that drives this entire market economy. That golden arrow, and what do we see? What do the people want us just to see? When she showed this one shot in the video where it just zoomed into this arrow. So we, as this members of society, aren't really aware of all the other parts, components that interact. So during the extraction stage, during the production stage, during the distribution stage, all we see is consumption, consumption, consumption. So what's the negative effect of consumption on us as people, individuals? And somebody who hasn't contributed, perhaps somebody from the other end. And I may ask specific people because you had a chance to discuss this. So Natalia, what's one negative effect on individuals from consumption?
Consumers are buying low quality items designed to keep us buying more.
Okay, so consumers are buying low quality items designed to keep us buying more. What does that make us do?
And also, if you don't have like the newest stuff, like it's kind of like a sharing thing.
Exactly. So a perfect example on individuals. And you especially guys, the teenagers. The marketers really love targeting you. The advertisers love targeting teenagers. Because there's a saying that if I can hook a teenager now, I've got a customer for life. It's interesting. If I can just hook you now into something, I got you hooked for life, basically. That's what they want you to do. That's what drives consumption, right? So the idea is now if you don't have the newest, the latest shoes, technology, right, you go, well, and I told you a story about my cell phone when I had, before I switched to the smartphone, I kind of gave into this industry, right? Okay, I had my Nokia phone, I was happy with it, great, but eventually my friends kept saying, hey, what is that thing? I'm like, what's my phone? What do you mean, what's that thing? You mean you can use that, you can go on the web on with that? No, I can't, but it works. Eventually, it can bring individuals shame, absolutely, especially if you're young, if you're a teenager. What about the society? The effect on society as a result of consumption. And I'm thinking about something really specific here. Let's see what you're thinking. Nurita.
Well, the lady was saying that people are consuming like 2 times as much like as an individual, so it's not leaving a lot for the rest of society.
Absolutely. I'm going to just paraphrase what Nurita said. Society, and this is in the United States, because this was a United States video, US video, and it kind of reflects a lot about what we do in Canada, because our economies are really kind of tied